The golden sun just beaming down. You know, like in the movies.
Except this is not a movie, pareja. This is Vice City.
GTA fans, you finally got the good news. The trailer is officially coming out. As always, follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X, and follow me at Lielers on TikTok. Lielers on TikTok. Remember how I mentioned on my last episode that I uploaded a video that is starting to get a bunch of likes? Well, that video got a lot of likes. It went viral, basically. So as of right now, that video has 44.3 thousand likes. And it's just basically me recording a bunch of strangers not reading a sign. And I cannot help but to notice and appreciate a bunch of these people commented on that video, just telling me all of the horror stories that they have endured, whether if it's working in retail or just even customer service. It's wow. The stories in there was like, for me, I'm glad I haven't experienced that, but damn. I feel bad for those people. But I want to say, if anybody that works in the retail industry, you guys are really the best. Basically, just having a lot of patience with all of these people. Hell, I know some of you guys are probably ready to burst at the next person that gives you the dumbest shit. I applaud you guys for still keeping that face and not telling those people, go fuck yourself, or basically. But yeah, that video went viral, and because of that, I also got a lot of followers. We have officially reached 460 followers on TikTok, meaning that if you guys have not done so, go follow me, because I'm really reaching for that 500 milestone now. Forget 420. We're going straight for 500 now. I know there's a lot of, creators out there that have more. For me, 500 is just enough. But anywho, I have a lot to cover, and it's not just pop culture. We are actually doing a movie review, both spoiler-free and spoiler version of Godzilla -1. I got to watch that movie yesterday, and sweet Jesus, I have a lot to say. But I will leave that for last, because I know some people are probably wanting to watch the movie. Who knows? And I will leave that spoiler version at the very, very end. So for those that are interested in watching it and want to come back, you're more than welcome to do so. To stop the episode, go watch it, come back and listen to what I have to say about the movie itself in the spoiler version. Obviously, how I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, everybody that's a GTA fan is officially getting the first trailer of GTA 6. And it is going to be live on December 5th. Rockstar did make the official announcement, and now we are just dying and waiting to see what's in store. I know there were a lot of rumors that, of where GTA was going to take place. Honestly, personally, it would have been awesome if, GTA would have steered clear from the east and came over here to Houston, because we are the 4th largest city. But I want to say, I guess the rumors are that it's just going to be a recreation, redone, revampize of San Andreas. But again, we don't know until the official trailer comes out, and obviously I'm going to be talking about it. Speaking of trailers, we have a shit ton of teaser trailers that just came out this past week, and I'm over here trying to process most of them. Obviously, we had like The Boys teaser trailer. If you guys have not done so, definitely go check it out. The Boys, Fallout, another teaser trailer, which I was happy and excited to see, back in my gaming days. And I'm going to start saying that, by the way, because I barely game anymore. Back in my gaming days, I was a huge fan of playing the Fallout games. And it wasn't like all of them, because I never played the PC version of Fallout 1 and 2. But I played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and, the not so hype Fallout 76. And those games, it takes me into this escape reality. Obviously, if you do not know, Bethesda's known for making these wide real life games in a way where you can expand to I guess a big ass map. Is just like GTA, and that's why I'm kicking that off with the news. And every game has its own theme. Of course, we already know Skyrim, for example, it's more like a medieval theme. If you like Game of Thrones, if you like medieval stuff, that will be your game for you. So that's Skyrim. We have Red Dead Redemption, which takes you back to the Wild West times. And then Fallout, which takes you into like a more 1960s, 50s modernized style world where it becomes an apocalypse after that. And I think for me, my favorite is Fallout because of that, and the storyline that the game has is wow. It makes you forget of time. I know there was at one point I was playing Fallout for like a day straight, and I didn't even realize like it went from morning to nighttime, and I was like, whoa, I need to take a break. That's how much I love Fallout. But the teaser trailer for Fallout is out, and that's going to be released on Amazon Prime Video. And I believe the release date is going to be on April this coming year. So I'm so excited. Obviously, the biggest thing that I noticed on that teaser trailer was not only just dog meat, but the Brotherhood of Steel is also in there. And I'm just like, damn, I would kill to be a part of that series. But, you know, people don't know who I am, so there's that. Moving along. Obviously, we also have a few local news besides the teaser trailer. I also wanted to say something really quick that happened here locally in Houston. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's like, wait a second, why is this popping up on my TikTok feed? So I saw on the news, this is why I go on Instagram, because I follow a lot of news channels. Over there, we have people who were reporting that the statue of this bakery that is in my hometown called Aranda's Bakery, they reported their statue lost. And I'm like, what? Like, how did a statue get lost all of a sudden? And so basically a group of people decided to steal the statue and literally started taking it for a joyride across Houston. And the reason why I showed up on my TikTok feed was there's two accounts. One of them is from _andro.o, and they're having the statue in downtown Houston, like just for a joyride. And keep in mind, these are tacuaches. And if you guys do not know what a tacuache is, it's just people that like own very classic trucks that are very, very low, and they use it for speeding and whatnot. So this person is showing off not only the truck, but next to the truck is the Aranda's Bakery statue. And I was like, whoa, you know, I'm like, hold up, this is interesting. Where are the cops when I'm pretty sure cops don't even have TikTok at this point. But anywho, and I kept on going, like, you know, on my TikTok, and then I found another video, and this one is from tacuacheando_way. I'm not gonna spell it. If you're Hispanic, you know how to spell it. So there's that. And this one, he had the statue, same thing, showing off his truck. And the truck and the statue were at a Shell gas station, and that's where the statue is just chilling at that point. And obviously, you know, you get your Mexican music playing in the background. But after that, a lot of people were like, wait a second, what's going on? Later on, it was reported on the news that, you know, the statue was returned safely back to the Aranda's Bakery. And I'm starting to wonder, was this like a marketing skit or something? Because now a lot of people are going to want to either try to steal the statue again, or are probably going to go at Aranda's Bakery and buy a lot of sweetbread. So there's that. Anywho, in other news, for those that do not know, and this is also on my TikTok feed, Spotify Wrapped has been released. And I'm over here like, I got to know what's happening. So for those that are listening to the podcast on Spotify, obviously I get the analytics of, you know, who's listening, how long are you listening for, you know, stuff like that. And I cannot help but to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for those that started listening to the podcast on Spotify, because I had a lot of, you know, analytics ranks and God knows what. I mean, obviously it's not going to tell me what rank my podcast is, but it did tell me which one was the top episode that was most listened to this year, and it happened to be Ghost with a Mon Amarth concert. And I'm like, hey, you know, Of course, that concert was so good. It was I had a blast just even talking about it. So thank you so much for paying attention to that episode. But shout out to everybody else and everybody that's listening to me on so many platforms. Of course, you might have seen the announcement that the podcast is now officially available on Odyssey. I didn't even get the memo that my podcast was there, but I'm like, hey, the more the merrier. So, for those that are listening on Odyssey, welcome. And then shout out to everybody else that's listening, whether if it's on Pandora, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon Music, sweet Jesus, the list could go on and on. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I could not have asked for any more of this attention, I guess. But Spotify Rap is not just for podcasts. It's also for music itself, too. And, a lot of people, I guess, they're not as big on Spotify that didn't receive a list because they're listening, on Apple Music or God knows no. And for those that actually did listen to music on Spotify, you get basically a ranking of your top 5 artists that you listen to and your top 5 music or songs that you listen to. And, it obviously tells you what category of genre of music that you listen to the most as well. And I know a lot of people share it, and I know a lot of people could care less. But let me go ahead and share mine. If you guys do not follow me on Instagram, obviously I posted this picture on there on my stories for y'all to check it out. But for some reason, I was surprised to see the list itself. I thought, and I'm very, very sorry, Ghost fans, if you guys are listening. I thought Ghost was going to be my number 1 top artist that I listened to. But for the past 3 years or maybe 4, Ghost has always stayed on the number 2 ranking. And I'm just like, and I remember I listened to so much Ghost. I swear to God, I thought it would have been this year, the year of Ghost, but it wasn't. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, due to the drama and God knows what, I did say I was going to be a Slipknot fan no matter what. And it turns out Slipknot was my number 1 top artist most listened to for this year, for 2023. I don't know how that happened, guys. I don't know. But then again, actually, I kind of do know. So it tells me, too, that which month was the month that I listened to the most music, and it happened to be in January. And it's so funny because I'm like, obviously I remember listening to every single Slipknot song while I was on my way to freaking Albuquerque, New Mexico for my birthday. So obviously that was the reason why. And I'm sorry, Ghost fans, I really am. I'm pretty sure I listened to the Slipknot from the past, I don't know, it took me like 13 hours to get there. For the past 13 hours, it doesn't make up for the individual time that I listen to music on a daily basis, whether if it's from home to work from home, or wherever the hell I'm going. It was not enough to match the 13 hours that I listen to Slipknot. So I do apologize for that, guys. And I say that because, yeah, despite with all the drama, I still listen to them. So there's that. Anywho, as previously mentioned, Ghost did land the number 2 spot, and the number 3 spot went to Rammstein. And I remember last year, and I want to say the year before, Rammstein was my number 1 most listened to artist for Spotify. So I'm like, it makes sense for them to go to number 3, but it's again, I have those 3 top bands for a reason. Ghost and Rammstein will always, fight for number 2 spot, number 3 spot, whatever it is. But like I said, it cannot defeat Slipknot for whatever reason. Anywho, surprisingly number 4 ranking, but then again, I know why too. Him was in my number 4 spot. And the reason why is because I actually got to see Villa Vallo perform live at the House of Blues here in Houston in May, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not surprised they were on the list. And then number 5 was Korn. I'm over here like, I listen to so many bands, but apparently I've been, and you'll understand why. I was listening to one Korn song on repeat for I don't know how long. And I will explain to you why in a bit. But with that being said, those were my top 5 artists most listened to on Spotify. Now, for the number 5 ranking of the songs. My number 1 top song listened to the most for 2023 was Warranty by Slipknot. Now, this song, again, I have reviewed Slipknot on this podcast, the album The End So Far, or The End For Now, however it is, however you want to say it. I said that Warranty was my favorite song from that album, and you know, if you listen to it, you might understand why. It's so good. I love it. So obviously I've been listening to that song a lot, so I'm not surprised that's my top song. Now, and this is what I mean by Korn. Number 2 song most played was Thoughtless. And you're probably wondering, Lielers, that's an old ass song. And I'm like, yes, I know it's an old ass song. Let me give you guys a background of this song. I don't know if anybody or any one of y'all have ever experienced that one moment where you remember listening to a song in your childhood, but you don't even know how the song goes. Like, it's playing in your head, and you're probably wondering too, like, wait, it's that song, you know? And you hear it. Yeah, you hear it in your mind clear as day. But when you say it out loud, it makes no sense. Thoughtless, for the past 20 God knows how many years, I've been wanting to find the song that sounded just like Thoughtless. I didn't know the song existed. I didn't know what it was called. I remember too when I've been wanting to find the song, I'm like, it sounds like it's from Korn. And the only reason why, I just remember my brother listened to the same music. He listened to new metal when we were growing up. And I think I kind of, catched up into it. And he listened to Korn. He even listened to Slipknot. And I think System of a Down was in that list. But he listened to more other music, not just rock. But he also listened to hip hop, all of that. And then Mexican music, of course, or Hispanic music that we listen to now. Now, when we were younger, I want to say he made a remix of Thoughtless. And again, keep in mind, I didn't know the song existed. But when I hear it, and as I kept growing up, I never knew what it was called. I never knew how the lyrics went because, again, English is my second language. I'm, Hispanic. My native language is Spanish. So for me, trying to figure out the lyrics, it was a dead end. But for the life of me, I always kept that song in my brain, and I never tried to look for it until maybe, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. To this day, 5 years ago, I went through every single Korn song trying to find it, and it didn't, and I have so little patience, keep that in mind. So I just kept skipping. Like, as soon as the song started, I go to the middle trying to find the chorus. Not once it had occurred to me that the song was Thoughtless. And the only way I found the song was through fucking TikTok. I was like, and it was me and my ex, we were just going through, we were going through each other's TikToks, and I found mine where this person's like recapping, songs that turned 20 or something like that, or, top songs for this decade, whatever it is. And they just kept recapping all of these songs. The second song that appeared was Korn, Thoughtless. And they're showing the music video. And I was like, wait a second. This melody sounds way too similar. And then all of a sudden I see the music video. And obviously Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad is in the music video. Like, he's like all young and skinny. This is before Jesse Pinkman. Keep that in mind too. So I'm hearing the song and I'm freaking out. My ex is over there like, wait, what's going on? And I'm just like, you don't understand. This is this childhood song that I've been trying to find for the longest years. Like, literally, we're talking 20 plus years. And this is the fucking song. And he was like, what? And I was like, okay. Hear me out. We just heard this clip. I know how the fucking melody goes because that's how I've been singing the melody for the past, I don't know how long. I've been trying to Shazam it. I even try to do that whole Google thing where you're trying to hum the melody and trying to find it. For the life of me, Google can't even freaking understand what I'm saying too. So for me to find Thoughtless was a big hit. So ever since I found it, I started listening to it until like there was no tomorrow. I even told my brother, I was like, brother, like, I've been wanting to find this song. I couldn't even fucking hum the song for you because you don't even understand too. And my brother, he hasn't listened to that music in a long time, so he didn't even know what I was talking about. And now it's like, bro, it was thoughtless this whole fucking time. Like, I wish I knew the song sooner, but hey, better now than never. So that is why Korn was on my number 5 most listened to artist, and Thoughtless is my number 2 most listened song. So now you understand the background. If you guys ever do have a childhood song that you've been wanting to listen to for the longest, didn't know what it was called, and barely recently discovered it, let me know in the comments. But anywho, other than that, my number 3 most listened to song was, oddly enough, it's I'm Not Afraid by the guitarist of Rammstein, RZK, but in here his artist name is Immigrant, I think is how you spell it. But for those that do not know and pay attention, Ghost fans, this song actually features not only him, Richard. It doesn't just feature him singing, but it also features Cardinal Copia. And I say Cardinal Copia because that's how they credit him in the song, where before he was Papa Emeritus IV, he was Cardinal Copia. So that's when they recorded the song. And I say oddly enough because I haven't, like, I listened to it, but it's like I'll hear it and then I get bored, and then every time it shows up now I just skip it because I discovered this song last year in 2022. And I remember how much I listened to it, and now it's like, oh, hey, it's on my Spotify thing. So, yippee hooray, you know. But anywho, other than that, I also had, for number 4, was Stay by Ghost. And that one is the newly released single that we have that came out for the Insidious movie. And we talked about this on one of my episodes too. So that one, obviously, I love how the melody is. I love that little bridge that it has. You know, I'm not surprised that is my number 4 song. So even though it released like a few months ago, obviously it landed on number 4. So I wasn't listening to it on repeat for the past year. So there's that. And then lastly, number 5 was Jesus He Knows Me by Ghost. Like, I think I have like almost 3 songs related to Ghost, and I say related because of I'm Not Afraid song. But other than that, like, I have so many songs from Ghost than I do for Slipknot and Korn. You know, I'm like, where's Rammstein? And, well, I mean, Rammstein, you could consider RZK on here on number 3, but where's him on here on this list? But anywho, I listened to a total of 16,777 minutes, and my top genre was alternative metal. So that is basically my Spotify rap list that we have. But again, shout out to everybody that has been listening to the podcast, whether if you're new, you're old, you know, I don't know how long you've been listening to. I appreciate y'all so much. So thank you. But anywho, let's go ahead and move it along because I really do want to do my Godzilla review ASAP. Now, I did say that we had a lot of teaser trailers that got released and all of that, but I wanted to talk about a little few rumors that have not been fully announced. Like, for example, there's a possibility that we're going to get Carl Urban, who plays Billy Butcher in The Boys. The actor might possibly make an appearance on Deadpool 3. Not as Billy Butcher, but a whole different character. So we won't know until July. We will see. But anywho, and another type of news that we also have is WWE. I know there's a lot of intense shit that's going on, especially with CM Punk finally returning. He appeared on Raw, and it turns out that everything that, you know, we saw with Seth Rollins and him, you know, firing shots back at each other, that was all a skit. So I want to say they're probably gonna hype up CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, and, you know, creative or WWE creative said, well, we know Seth Rollins called CM Punk a cancer, so let's go ahead and make use of that. So yeah, that was all staged. Damn. But another notorious return was Randy Orton, and he came back and taunted Judgment Day in a way where Rhea Ripley comes out. Now, we know Randy Orton gives no fucks what gender you are. He will RKO you if you piss him off. So we were all waiting to see if he was going to RKO Rhea Ripley, but that didn't happen. Instead, he shows up and he knows how the game is. Everything's changed, this, and that. But the most iconic line that he gave us on Monday Night Raw was, we see you, we see Rhea, this, and that. It's always, mommy this, mommy that, mommy this, mommy that. Well, guess what, Rhea? Daddy's back. And I'm like, oh, like, he just opened a whole ass door. Like, whoa. So now Randy Orton is WWE's Pedro Pascal. So that's hilarious for me to hear. So for me to see that, and now everybody, the WWE universe is all hyping up who's your daddy to Rhea and Dominic Mysterio, because we all know that, I guess mommy's always on top, this and that, and she has ownership of Dominic. And what I mean by that, it's more like she tells Dom what to do. But now it was like Randy was going up against Dominic on Monday Night Raw, and everybody started telling Dominic Mysterio, who's your daddy? And I'm over here like, are we gonna forget what we had earlier with the whole like what was it, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, who gets custody of Paul Heyman? No, this is a whole new match. And this is going to be Rhea Ripley versus Randy Orton for the custody of Dominic Mysterio. It's a whole new fandom over there, and we love it. And speaking of Randy Orton, we actually got to see him also on Friday Night SmackDown. And, apparently the Raw and SmackDown general managers are over there trying to fight for Randy Orton to sign a deal, because technically speaking, Randy and CM Punk are free agents. They are free to go anywhere. However, for some reason, it was a must that Randy gets to lock into a contract right then and there. He obviously chose SmackDown for, the bloodline reasons, where he still has to settle beef with Roman Reigns. It makes sense that Randy will go up against Roman, but will he be good enough to dethrone Roman Reigns? We shall see. It is going to be an interesting match, though. I would love to see that. It's going to be so hype because Randy Orton has come back and better than ever. For his age, like I mentioned on the last episode, he looks good for his age. But besides that, back to CM Punk too, they also did mention that they know what happened with AEW. So you kind of get an idea who was in the wrong for during that whole AEW drama, because there's reports that under CM Punk's contract there is a behavior clause that prevents CM Punk creating backstage drama. And I'm like, oh. And he also can't legally speak about AEW, so he has to keep his mouth shut on that. So but everybody's probably wondering like, oh well, what happened with AEW? Tony Khan did kind of say something, but it was more like he can't also legally speak about CM Punk. So that's what he's going to leave it at that. So, and I'm like, damn, this is crazy how these companies work. Legally, they can't say anything. But besides that, I want to say JR and maybe Big Show. But JR for sure was more like he's proud of him. Even though there was times where they disagree on stuff, it was more like they agreed more than they disagreed. Therefore, he just wishes the best of luck for CM Punk and his future. So that's good to hear. I don't know how everybody else on the roster feels, or maybe they're just keeping comments to themselves, because again, if Tony Khan can't say anything, then they probably can't say anything either. So there's that. But anywho, another thing that they also did for Raw, actually, it was more like a Cody Rhodes segment. They did say that they're gonna start hyping up Royal Rumble already, starting now, even though Royal Rumble is gonna be like over a month later. It's gonna be like at the end of January. And with that being said, Cody Rhodes decided to take the opportunity to announce himself as the first, not the first entrant, but basically the first to announce that he will be in the Royal Rumble competition for the men's section. And I'm like, it's too early. But I mean, he won the last one. He lost at WrestleMania. Will he win this one and hopefully win again? But who will he challenge? Who? Oh my God, if I can think. I mean, again, with this whole thing going on with, Seth and maybe CM Punk. I mean, if they square that off in Royal Rumble and Cody and Seth can go up against each other, that'd be interesting enough now that I think about it. But we will see. But it does look a little bit more hype. As long as WWE doesn't bury these freaking wrestlers, we have a lot of potential great storylines. Just saying. So there is hope for WWE. Now, with that being said, let me fucking talk about Godzilla Minus One. So, for those that do not know, or for those that are new to the podcast, I usually do like a spoiler-free version and then a spoiler version for Godzilla. Now, here, I will obviously start off with the spoiler-free version, so that way, if you are interested in watching the movie and want to know my thoughts later, feel free to pause the episode, go watch it, come back, and we'll talk about the rest. Now, me personally, about this Godzilla movie, I would start it off by saying I think this is by far my favorite Godzilla film of all time, and that says a lot. But with that being said, let me go ahead and start off with the Rotten Tomato score. Now, here, the Rotten Tomato score, it is at a 97%, which is it's literally certified fresh Rotten Tomato score, and it has a 98% audience score. That says a lot. When it's usually like we're so used to seeing like mixed reviews and all of that. No, this everything here is just saying a lot of good things, and you'll see why. Now, keep in mind, this Godzilla film is different than what we've seen here in the States. And when I mean by that, I mean like Warner Brothers and Legendary Films. Forget everything you know about these movies. This is a whole different it's a separate timeline. It's also a separate audience because this was created by Toho Studios, which is a Japanese studio. And here everything is in Japanese. It takes place in Japan. And, if you do watch it, you will be reading a lot of English subtitles, which I love. If I could watch every movie that I can, or even shows, you will see me with subtitles, because there's times where I'm like, what are they saying? Like, I don't understand, But keep in mind, it is a Japanese film, separate from the timelines. Forget Monarch, forget Kong, forget even the other kaijus that we have seen in the new, what I call the Monsterverse. When we've seen those, forget about them. Now, here, with that being said, not only there's positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and audience score. Here, I want to say the reason for these positive reviews is because of the damn story plot. And I say this because I've seen so many movies where the story plot sometimes doesn't make sense. And here with Godzilla itself, I would give like the best example of why a movie flopped. Godzilla King of Monsters was probably the worst Godzilla movie. I personally loved it because King Ghidorah was in there. But everybody hated it because the storyline did not make any sense whatsoever. There's so many confusion, conflicts, and it's like this could have been so much better. Of course, if you do not know, I also did review Godzilla vs. Kong. That one was a little bit iffy because you have two separate storylines trying to combine it into one. But it could have been just a little bit better. But in my personal opinion, when I reviewed that movie, I said it was amazing. Definitely go check out that episode too. I reviewed it back in 2021. That was 2 years ago. Sweet Jesus. But anywho, this movie itself, Godzilla Minus One, is probably beyond amazing only because of that storyline. It's really hard to get the attention of the audience when you're trying to tell the story, but yet you're also adding this creature that is Godzilla. And I want to say, like, the creators, the writers, even the director, they fucking nailed that. The actors as well. Like, you're starting to see the other side of why it's so important to defend your home from this creature. And another thing that we also see is that they finally created Godzilla as the abomination that he was intended for, because Warner Brothers and Legendary, they portray Godzilla as a hero when that is not the case. It, at the end of the day, Godzilla is a monster and he needs to act like a monster, and that's what they did that in here. Now, when I talk about things about on the spoiler free version, obviously some of the things that we've seen are already out for the public to see on the trailer. So whatever you saw in the trailer is probably what I'm going to be talking about, and still not try to avoid spoiling the movie. As you may have known, or you may have seen, this movie does take place after the events of World War II. If you know your history, you know Japan was obviously on the enemy side for the United States. So with that being said, I mean, again, this is what caused Pearl Harbor. Oh my God, Pearl Harbor was in there. But this was what caused so much shit that was going on between, United States and Japan. So now you're wondering, well, obviously the United States and, whoever they were with won the war. And we know Japan obviously was with Germany during World War II. This is why you need to pay attention for history. Now, we have seen a lot of shit that, I'm pretty sure the Japanese had to endure during those times. So you get to see that in that movie. Now, imagine you're over there trying to rebuild your home, but then all of a sudden, this humongous creature pops up, and it's like you're leading to desperation to save your home. And that's what we see. That's what we see, and that's what I appreciate, But I love it. I think for me personally, again, you see it in the human perspective finally, because I think we've seen it in a creature perspective with the past Godzilla films. Now here, this Godzilla is so much different than Shin Godzilla, because again, you're probably thinking, if it's Japanese film, is this the sequel to Shin Godzilla? No, it is not. It's a whole separate movie by its own. And I have seen Shin Godzilla. I own Shin Godzilla. And I want to say this movie is way better than Shin Godzilla itself. I feel like in Shin Godzilla, I want to say maybe 70% of this movie was just like boring, if you ask me. I was losing interest, and the parts that were more interesting was when Godzilla came out. But again, it's a whole different Godzilla, because Shin Godzilla was skinny, very tall, but very slow. And if you see the trailer for Godzilla -1, this Godzilla obviously is wider, thicker, can't disagree with that. But you see this Godzilla as fast moving, destructive, ready to annihilate everything that it's on its path. So that's what I love and I appreciate, I also wanted to say shout out to the amazing cast and crew. The way how they told this story was so much better than any other American movie that I have seen. You see all this emotion, and you forget that they're acting. Like, wait a second, this looks like it's a real thing, And, primarily speaking, I want to say the main actor himself, and I am so sorry if I butcher this name, is Ryonosuke Kamiki, who plays Kyochi. I cannot pronounce this last name. Shikishima. I want to say that's how you say it. Kyochi was probably my favorite, even though he was the main character. You feel for this character, and you try to put yourselves into the shoes of this character, and all you feel is all he feels. Like, you start connecting with them, even though they're fictional characters. You connect with them, and that's what I love about it. Like, honestly, just watching this movie just left me blown away. There were times where I was acting to where I've never acted before, and this is like including Avengers Endgame. Like, I haven't felt that since Avengers Endgame. But it wasn't more like exciting, because that's how Avengers Endgame was. It was more exciting, happy. This was like a mixture of tragedy, but also relief at the same fucking time. And I'm like, how is that even possible, And that's why I'm telling you guys, this movie, wow. It took me to a whole different level of movie experience that I have never seen. Forget Nicole Kidman doing that whole AMC commercial. I escaped from that movie. All I'm saying. Now, another thing, and this was a more tricky thing that the Japanese studios have to do, was the BFX. Now, BFX, CGI, however you guys want to call it. If you compare this movie, Godzilla Minus One, with a Marvel movie that has come out in most recently, that includes the Marvels, Ant-Man, and I don't even know any other Marvel movies. But if you were to compare it, you would see the biggest difference of quality and what the fuck is this? I watched it in a regular movie theater. I didn't get to watch it in IMAX or anything, but the way how this looked, it looked very realistic to me. And I've seen that too with Shin Godzilla. With Shin Godzilla, it was more like it looks animated, but I cannot find the animation on it. Like, what part doesn't make any sense. And in Godzilla Minus One, everything looks so fucking real, Even fucking Godzilla didn't even look CGI, and that scared me. And speaking of scared, that was something else I never also went through. There was a part, literally a scene, I'm not going to say which one, but there was a scene where Godzilla literally freaked me out. And I was like, this shit is scary, and I never been terrified of Godzilla like that ever before. Usually when I see him, I get like, oh my God, finally destruction. But now it was more like, oh my God, no, So that's why I'm like, this is definitely breathtaking for me. Now, as I mentioned before with the whole Rotten Tomato score and whatnot, here I'm just more like, forget what they say. Me personally, I recommend this movie at 1,000, probably 1,000,000%. Go fucking watch this movie. Like, I don't care if you're not a fan of Japanese movies. I don't care if you're even a fan of Godzilla. This movie is definitely worth watching because it gives you the escape of reality that we desperately need in an American movie. And I think in Japan itself, it is probably the most successful movie that they have created. Hell, this movie itself got nominated. Like, they have, their film festivals and whatnot. This movie got nominated for Best Film, Best Director, and I think Best Leading Actor. But they did one for Best Director. Now, I will say this too. There are no end credits, post credits, whatever it is. They literally leave you what you want to think. And I'm praying and hoping, me personally, after watching this movie, I am begging for a sequel. Like, I remember seeing Shin Godzilla, and Shin Godzilla to this day has not gotten a sequel. But I'm gonna be sad if there's no sequel for this movie, And I'm just like, I need to know. And you will understand why I say that when I start talking about the spoiler version. So with that being said, I will give you guys a few seconds to go ahead and disconnect. Stop listening to this podcast. Go watch Godzilla Minus One and then come back. And you gotta hear what I've got to say about this movie. So here is your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Holy shit. I don't even know where to start. There's so much shit that happened in here that I'm like, where do I start? This is what I mean. I had to write it down because I will be jumping back and forth from segments because I don't even know, like, I will lose my train of thought. Like, the first thing that I wrote here is that I want to hug the main character again, Kyochi, because he went through so much in this movie that, again, you feel a connection with this character, and you start to wonder, oh my God, I don't even want to go through that, And with that being said, Kyochi literally had to go through what it's called survivor's guilt, which is another form of PTSD that a lot of people go through, especially if they've been in the army, in the Marines, the Navy, whatever it is. If some people go through that, and this is what he went through in the beginning of the movie, and that's the thing. Kyochi went through so much loss. Not only he feels guilty because they didn't win the war in Japan during World War II. Because he feels like, because he was a kamikaze pilot, he decided to abandon his post, make it look like, his plane was faulty or whatnot, to try to escape from killing, like, innocent people. So when he pulled aside, he sees the mechanics of the planes, and they noticed that, wait a second, like the plane wasn't faulty at all, but hey, one of them was like, I feel for you, I understand, whatever. But then Godzilla comes up. Godzilla was tiny, this little tiny creature that's a size of maybe like a 3-story building. 3 stories, keep that in mind. But he comes in and he starts killing every single mechanic in there except for Kyochi and the other mechanic that said, I understand your pain, And then after that mechanic started blaming Kyochi for the death of his comrades, basically. Because Kyochi did not fire at Godzilla. He was too scared. And, it's the same way he couldn't kill innocent people. He couldn't kill Godzilla because he was terrified. And because of that, it led to him surviving that whole warpath that Godzilla did. Now, you're seeing that, and then not only that, once the war is over, he's getting shipped back to his home. He finds out his parents are dead. And his neighbor is literally also blaming him. If you were a kamikaze pilot and you survived, you didn't do your duty. Therefore, shame on you. You lost your parents. We lost the war. And, that's what she throws at him. And now Kyochi's trying to survive and make his, basically make a name of himself, trying to survive, and yet trying to collect the pieces that his parents left for him. Now, during that, he meets Naroki, I think, if that's her name. So Noriko, sorry. He meets Noriko and Akiko, and they're over there again. They're trying to survive, but they bump into Kyochi and they seek for refugee. A couple years later, they're still together, but they're not in a relationship. And again, Noriko is not, she's taking care of Akiko, but they're not related. So she basically made a promise to Akiko's mom that she would take care of her, because Akiko's mom passed away, again, same thing, during the airstrikes. So with that being said, years happen. They're trying to, again, rebuild Japan, and Kyochi finds a job, trying to basically do this mine sweep that the Americans left in the middle of the ocean. So they're trying to do that. It's a government job and they're paying him well. Next thing you know, boom, Godzilla comes back. And Godzilla starts, going towards this little town in Japan called Ginja. And that's where Noriko works. And obviously she ends up dying while trying to save Kyochi. Kyochi was trying to get her out. But, when Godzilla's already trying to blow up a city, it was already too late. And Noriko decided to sacrifice herself to save Kyochi. And Kyochi lost her. And even though they weren't married, he felt guilt even more because he didn't ask her to marry her, and now he's taking care of Akiko, and Akiko's over there, like, hey, where's mom? And I'm not shitting you, I cried every fucking time, Akiko mentioned her mom. I cried when Noriko sacrificed herself. Like, damn, like, it's shitty enough for you to lose your parents, but it's shitty enough to lose somebody that stood for you and dealt with your little, I guess you would say, skeletons that you have, or your little demons that you have mentally, and yet you didn't appreciate it, and you see that person pass away. Like, it's horrible. So this movie just made me cry in all aspects of levels. We have those sadness when I mention Akiko and mentioning, Noriko, like, where's mom, this and that. But there was this part where, I cried, but it was both like, what the fuck just happened? And then made me realize, wait a second, what just happened? Like, what I mean by that is I'm watching a scene where they're already going to war with Godzilla. Literally, all these people made this plan to find ways to destroy him because Godzilla is different. And I will talk about that in a bit. But there was a part where Kyochi looked like he was going to kill himself to defeat Godzilla. and, also avenge the death of Noriko. And here it just happened all so sudden, and I remember like almost gasping and trying to hold back my tears because I literally thought he killed himself. And next thing you know, all you see is like a little parachute flying down, and I'm like, he fucking got out of the plane before he crashed into Godzilla's mouth, only for it to explode too. And I'm still crying as I'm seeing that, and I'm just like, it's more like a relief. But I kept crying so much because I'm like, what the fuck did I just go through, And not only that, we're also seeing that Noriko survived. And I'm like, you're shitting me. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, I'm crying as the movie is literally beginning to be over. And I'm still crying, trying to get my shit together, The good thing I went to the movies by myself, so it's like nobody got to see all of that. But still, like just going through so much emotion, I'm just like, I never experienced this in a movie, Avengers Endgame was more like, yeah, let's fucking do this and that. Nope, not at all. This one was more like, what is happening? You're trying to like understand the events, but also trying to remember like what just happened. So it's like so much information happened in there. But let me talk about Godzilla. Godzilla is so much fucking different than Shin Godzilla, than, Warner Brothers Godzilla, everything. And from what I've seen, where I thought this Godzilla could not be any better, nope. Godzilla -1 decided to stomp on everything that we have seen. Now, for me, how I mentioned, he starts off small, 3 stories. When he starts attacking the city of Ginja, it was like fucking, I don't even know how many stories. I would say probably 50, probably more, because he was the same height or even bigger than the buildings that were in that city. And it was so big too that he can even fit himself a large massive boat in with his mouth, and he can easily destroy that. But one thing that threw me off, but I thought it was also badass, was the fact that Godzilla fucking regenerates. And I'm like, are you shitting me? I have not seen a Godzilla that can fucking regenerate as quick as that. Now, apparently there was a little gaps of the movie where, they show you that the reason why Godzilla decided to become, like, he fucking mutated so big and maybe gotten that regenerative healing was because there were some bombings from the United States, and it was like nuclear bomb tests that actually did happen, by the way, in real life, that is known as Operation Crossroads. So they're saying that during those little nuclear tests, Godzilla was underwater and feeling that radioactivity. So he mutated because of that effect now, and that's what made him get all that shit, all those powers, I guess. But another thing that also made him so fucking badass, and at this point just godlike, was the fact when Godzilla starts recharging or just charging his radioactive heat ray, however you guys want to call it. It looks so fucking badass. It's also in the fucking trailer. You can actually look this up. His spikes come up as it's starting to rise up from his tail all the way to the back of his head to his face. Like, you just see it just like clawing out, the way how it pushes out, you feel that power, and it's like, oh shit, this is gonna be fucking deadly. And it becomes fucking deadly because once he shoots up that heat ray, it happens in a blink of an eye. It's not like fucking slow motion like we seen in Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, it was very slow, very, cinematic, orchestrated, however you guys want to call it. It was very beautiful. It brings a tear to my eye. With Godzilla -1, it was whoa. It was very destructive, and you really go to the point where you don't even want Godzilla to destroy the city. You're like, no, like, don't. And when I say that, like, that was another thing that made me cry was, when he started charging at one of the boats where a few of the characters that we have seen in this movie were including Captain, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Yukazaka, I cannot pronounce his last name, sorry. But he was in there, the general that was trying to get everybody to say, you know what, let's fight for Japan. Let's get our country back, this and that. They were all in that boat, and Godzilla's about to charge, and I'm over here like, oh my God. Like when he's charging, I'm starting to freak out because, again, those are the moments where you don't want Godzilla to destroy a city, because, again, you see it from a human's perspective of why it is important to, try to rebuild your future, trying to go back to your normal duties after the war, but you're still trying to deal with this humongous monster that is Godzilla. So it's like you're dealing with these things, and now you see it through that perspective, and that's also the scene where Godzilla kind of freaked me out when he was starting to charge at the boats. And so I'm over here like, Godzilla literally just took my breath away with this. Like, the way how they created Godzilla, it was beautiful. The way how they were going to kill him, though, was a little bit like, wait a second, Japan knows about this? They were basically trying to do like Ocean Gate style to destroy Godzilla, where they basically push him underground as far low as they can. And the sea pressure itself was going to crush Godzilla. And we got to see that too, where he was about to, launch at something, like he was already regenerated for his radioactive heat ray. And all of a sudden, once he's all tangled up in these things where they're going to push him down with these bubbles. Again, it's just science things that they explain in the movie. But like, they're bringing him all the way down, and you see, as soon as Godzilla's down, all you see is like the pressure just squishing him out of breath, but obviously that didn't kill him because he's used to some of the pressure. And, they were trying to bring him up and try to see if, there was another way to destroy him, which obviously I ruined it on how they actually did destroy Godzilla with the Kyoichi, or Koichi. It's Koichi. With Koichi trying to push the plane with the bomb in his mouth, and exploding it. And again, you're probably wondering like, wait a second, but doesn't he regenerate? Well, that's the fucking cliffhanger, because the way how they exploded Godzilla, it looked fucking brutal, by the way. It didn't destroy his whole body, but the way how it left them out, it was like, okay, he's done for. And he just sinks back down to the ocean, We don't know how far low he went, but it was enough, again, with the pressure just holding him back down. And the movie ends with that cliffhanger that, you see a chunk of Godzilla. I don't know if it's his face, his body. I can't even see clear as day what it could be. But all you see is the bubbles of his skin acting up, meaning that he's regenerating. And that's how the movie ends. So now you're probably wondering, like, we need a fucking sequel. That's what I want. I want a fucking sequel. Because if this happens, remember how I mentioned earlier, Noriko, we know she's alive. Goichi's over there trying to get to her and, accept the fact that she lived. And she even tells him, like, did you finally destroy the demons or your war demons? Kind of like that. And, he's crying. The movie ends, of obviously including the cliffhanger. And I'm like, I want to know if Koichi, and Noriko are finally together. I want to know if Godzilla comes back. There's so much shit going on that this is why I need a sequel. However, the director did say for us to, fend for ourselves, trying to figure out, what could have happened if he's already dead, like Godzilla's dead, and there's no need for a sequel, or there might be a sequel. And, we finally get to see if they're going to be able to destroy him, or if this is probably the start of Japan's monsterverse. That would be something interesting I would love to see. That, Toho Studios decides, okay, well, we have this Godzilla, and, Japan is trying to find ways to destroy this Godzilla. It could lead to Mecha Godzilla being created. It could lead to discoveries of other kaijus to try to see if they could destroy Godzilla, because this Godzilla, again, was intended to be an abomination, and that is what exactly it should be. I'm glad that they did this movie, and I'm glad that it's doing so well in the box office in Japan. Not here, unfortunately. We have so many movies that came out that's probably not gonna help Godzilla's case, because again, it is a Japanese film and a lot of people don't want to watch a Japanese film. But, you know, we have like the Trolls War Tour that's out, or in Beyonce's Renaissance film, you know, concert film that's out. So it could, you know, not be as great here in the United States. But hey, if there's a sequel in Japan, they're probably going to pass it over here. And it's going to be great because, again, I want to go watch it. But I'm really glad that it did so good. I'm really glad. And, you know, at the end of the day, for me, I enjoyed this movie. I am craving to watch it again because of how awesome it was. So basically, that wraps up this episode for the day. Again, I hope you guys did enjoy that. I know some of you guys probably did stop the episode midway, but if you managed to listen through, thank you. Thank you so much. As always, again, guys, follow my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram, Threads, and X. And follow me at Lielers on TikTok. Lielers on TikTok. Go interact with my videos that I posted. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.